So the power's out again, and I think it's time for another power cut story. This is going to be number two. Um, yeah, I've got a little story to tell. Let me just pour some wine, and then I'll get into the story. So a man by the name of Thabo is getting up and he's getting ready for work. He got up 5 minutes late. He wasn't feeling like the day so much. But he's ready now and he makes his way. He starts walking to the train station. So he lives 10 minutes away from the train station. And it's just then 5 minutes to Main Road where he can catch a taxi from. So on the walk, he always thinks about which transport he should take. And he thinks about it and he's like, cool, the one's more comfortable and the other one will get you there on time, but both have risks and weird things that can happen. And he's in uniform, so he doesn't know how he gets experienced in different environments. So he thinks about it and he's like, you know what, I'm 5 minutes late. If I catch a train, I should still be on time. I'm not really that late, so I should be fine. So he goes to the train station and he sits there and he's just chilling, relaxing, waiting for the train. And then 5 minutes pass by and he starts to think, should I go to catch a taxi now or should I wait? The train's supposed to have arrived already. So he just thinks about it and he's like, I'm not sure. And then he sees a woman walk by and just beyond him, there's a group of men that like talk to her. And he saw her laugh, but then give kind of a look that he wasn't really happy about. And in the moment, he wanted to interject and say something. But his mind flashed back to all of his experiences on the train and the things that he's seen. The multiple people he's seen with tattoos under their eyes that he was certain were part of the 26s or the 28s. Or the times where he's spoken to people who've told him stories about how they were stabbed at Woodstock Station. Or the times he stepped off the train and seen dead bodies. So all of those thoughts flashed before his mind. Before he knew it, the woman was gone and the men had continued about their day, and he felt a terrible sense of guilt because he hadn't done anything and he knew he should have. Another 5 minutes goes by and the train still isn't there, and he's like, cool, I have to go and catch a taxi now, otherwise I'm going to be late for work. So he gets up, leaves, and goes to Main Road. The men say something, but he just walks away and continues about his day. So he goes and he catches a taxi to Woodstock. And then there's a bit of traffic on the day. There's some commotion. Something's happening, and he doesn't know why there's so much traffic. He keeps checking his watch, and the taxi's taking way slower than normal with the traffic and everything. So eventually he does get to work, but he gets to work 15 minutes late. And as he arrives at work, he just sees a whole bunch of commotion and running around, and his boss comes to me. He's like, Thabo, why are you late today? And Thabo's like, I'm sorry, it was with I was waiting for the train, and then and he's like, okay, fine, whatever, you're late, put on your gear, put on your ride gear, we've got to go to the Cape Town station today, there's some commotion, we've got to go. So he thinks to himself, I was just going to go to the Cape Town station and then get out, like, I was just going to be almost on the way there. And then he puts on his ride gear and he's worried about how hot it's going to be, and because it's already a really hot day, and then with the ride gear on top of his uniform, and then it's just going to be an absolute nightmare. But anyways, he gets up and he gets set up in his ride gear, he picks up his shield, and as they're leaving the police station, he sees his like colleagues picking up guns, and he doesn't really know why. And then the chief is like, Thabo, you've got to take a gun with you. It's got rubber bullets in. You're not going to kill anyone, but you need to take it with you. And he doesn't want to, but he just decides, okay, I'm going to have to do this. So he takes it and he's like, I'm not going to use this, but I'm going to take it because I have to. So cool. And they get into their like riot vehicles, and Thabo is just like, okay, I've been to protests recently. I've experienced this a lot in the last couple of years, but I haven't seen commotion like this in a long time. I don't fully understand what's going on. And he starts to get concerned and anxious and scared, as anyone would in that situation. And he's just like, I haven't been prepped for this. I hope this is going to be okay. And so, yeah, they arrive at Cape Town Station, and as they're arriving, he just sees smoke in the air, just a massive amount of smoke just going. And he thinks to himself, oh no, trains have been set alight, things are violent. And he realizes why the train hadn't come that morning. And now he's genuinely scared, because now people have committed acts of violence to a certain degree. So he thinks, okay, this is going to get terrifying. But he knows it's his job, so they're cool. They go, and then they lock the front of the station, right? But all of him and his colleagues and all the police go, and then they stand in front of the crowds. So now all of the platforms have been blocked off. No one can take any trains. The trains are gone. They're not being used now, as there's 3 trains burning. So Cape Town Station's completely closed off. And he stands there, with the shield, and they have to form a line. And as he's walking there, he hears a woman say to them as a people, he's like, hey guys, sorry, we're sorry about the fires. It wasn't us. There was a couple of other people. We don't know who it was. We're sorry, it wasn't us. We're here for different reasons. We really want a positive difference. Thabo believes her in the moment and thinks, okay, so there are some people here, level-minded, things are going to be okay. So they're standing there for a little while. Nothing really happens. There's just a couple struggle songs being sung, but nothing too hectic happens. And yeah, so it's just they're there, and Tabo's like getting really hot and sweating because the fire's behind them, so he can feel the heat. But it's like, it's okay. Things are fine. And then he just hears some loud commotion. It's not singing, there's just shouting, something happening, but he can't see anything. And then he just feels the crowd start to move forward and start to move into the police line. And it starts to get, at first he's like, this is going to be fine, it's just a group. But then it starts to get harder and harder. You can see no one's intentionally running forward, but people are just bustling and pushing forward. So they're just pushing into the shield. So he just lifts his shield. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those big police shields. He's just lifting it there, holding it there. And the crowd's just pushing in and like just pushing into it. So he's like, okay, cool. Things are getting hectic now, but I think it's going to be okay. And then he sees, out of the corner of his eye, he sees one of his colleagues grab a smoke grenade. And he shouts, no, don't do it. It's going to make it worse. He shouts that in hopes and prays that he's not going to throw this thing. And then in a split second, you just hear, and then there's just smoke in the crowd. And now the crowd starts to freak out again. And they're just going crazy. And then Thabo's like, I'm not going to use my gun. I refuse to use my gun. So he just holds his shield here. He just holds it and holds it. And the crowd's pushing in and pushing into them. And genuine fear takes place. He's been scared, but now he genuinely fears for his life. And then he just hears the struggle songs kick off. Sizani na. They're just singing Sizani na. And he's like, okay. What's gonna happen? And then he just hears this, and he just hears a click. And there's bah! And he just feels something. He can't recognize it. He's never felt anything like it before. And he touches his head. And he just looks at his hand, and he just sees blood flowing down his hand. And the song Sizani na continues playing, or they continue singing it rather. They continue singing it, and he starts to see nothingness, and he starts to fall. And as he falls, he lets out a cry of Sizani.